Action 7 News live at 10. Coverage you can count on.
Fire chiefs captured in racy photos on what was supposed to be a business trip. Now the county manager wants their boss, who was blurred out in this picture, to resign. But Chief Stephen Gonzalez said no.
Not only that, he is trying to rally support from the community. So Action 7 News reporter Kirsten Swanson asked people in Los Lunas what they think.
These photos are still stirring up trouble in Los Lunas.
It's inexcusable behavior in public.
And new problems for Valencia County Fire Chief Stephen Gonzalez.
There's been a lot of public outcry.
Target 7 first told you about Gonzalez and 2 of his fire chiefs. They were on a taxpayer-funded trip to a conference in Indiana last month. During a lunch, someone snapped these photos of the men dressed in uniform with some scantily clad women. We had to blur the picture of Chief Gonzalez because of its graphic nature.
There were personnel policies broken.
County Manager Danny Monette says the 3 were placed on leave and have since returned to work, but says county commissioners got an earful from the public.
They have some concerns about the fire department and the direction it might be headed.
So today, Monette says he asked Gonzalez to resign. The chief said no and is now trying to rally support on Facebook.
Chief Gonzalez is back in the office after serving that suspension. He didn't want to go on camera today, but did sit with me for about 5 minutes in his office. He says he believes this entire situation has been blown out of proportion.
He thinks he can earn back the trust of the community and get their confidence back.
But Joan DeBaca isn't sure that can happen.
He's asking for support, like letters of support.
No way. No way, Jose. I don't care what his excuses are. He's a grown man. He should know better.
Gonzalez told me he and the other chiefs just want to move on after serving their suspensions and apologizing publicly. The county commission says it will closely monitor the department for the next few weeks. Back to you.
Right now, investigators are looking for a 77-year-old woman who they say was abducted by her son, and the history between the two is not good. Action 7 News reporter Matt Howerton is live at the sheriff's office with more on this developing story.
Shelley, so far BCSO has stayed quiet about this search tonight. All they'll tell us is that they are still actively looking for Lenora Bayard. Here's a photo of her and her son, Patrick Bayard. Deputies believe he abducted the 77-year-old. They say Bayard has a restraining order against him because he's physically abused her in the past. This is a picture of the van they may be traveling in. It's white with the business name Appleland Commercial Cleaning on the side. Lenora Bayard was last seen in a purple top and tan pants. She's about 5'2" and bald. Deputies say she might appear to be her normal self, but she does have diminished mental capabilities. If you see either of them, call 911, and as soon as we hear any updates, we'll be sure to get them to you. In downtown Albuquerque at the sheriff's office, Matt Howerton, KOAT, Action 7 News.
An elementary teacher is being investigated after a student claims he bruised her arm. According to an Albuquerque Public Schools police report, the girl told officers it happened last week at Dennis Chavez Elementary. She says the teacher pulled her by her arm out of the classroom because she would not stop playing with her hair. A mother whose child is in the same class told us she has a hard time believing the teacher would do that.
She is crying, and the first thing she told me when I saw her was, I don't believe it, Mom. I don't think this is true. And I don't either.
We're not releasing the teacher's name because he has not been charged. The district says he will remain on leave until the investigation is complete.
A lot of people are upset to see construction on Central, even though Albuquerque Rapid Transit has not officially been approved. Action 7 News reporter Sandra Ramirez found out why the work is already underway.
There's still a lot up in the air when it comes to art. The federal funding hasn't been approved, and it faces 2 lawsuits. But that isn't stopping crews from starting work to move water lines and replace pipes along the proposed route. It's already underway at Central and San Mateo, as well as Central and Coors. The Water Authority says it's paying for the work and says there's no harm in getting a head start.
We have to act on the assumption that art's moving forward. And if it does, we're required to get our utilities out of the way.
Morris also says this work has to be done regardless of what happens with art. It'll expand to other portions of Central over the next 3 months. Back to you.
Tomorrow will be the warmest day so far this year. I could not be happier.
Yeah, that's right, including the Albuquerque area. We're going to be close to that. So far, we've been my live Super Doppler 7 forecast.
A little boy is devastated after losing his mom again. When she passed away, the family had her cremated. Then overnight, someone stole her ashes. Action 7 News reporter Matt Howerton talked to the family about how it happened.
The favorite part of my picture is the fact that we went to the state fair with her.
Matt Nahera takes a hard look at his mother's picture. It's all he has left of his mom after someone stole her ashes overnight.
I'm just thinking, what's happening to the ashes right now?
While Nahera and his father try to find a new place to live, they're staying at a relative's house. They packed up their truck this week and headed over, their entire life inside. But when they got up this morning,
He woke me up and said, somebody stole the stuff in the car.
all of it, including the ashes of Matt's mother, who died in her sleep 2 years ago. They were kept in a nice, elegant box.
My mom was right here.
Matt's father held back tears as his son explained how important his mother is to him. Meanwhile, Albuquerque police are investigating the theft. But Matt and his father only want one thing:
My dad and me don't want really anything else, just our ashes, the ashes.
their sweet mom.
We'll basically sacrifice anything to get her back.
Back where she belongs. Matt Howerton, KOAT, Action 7 News.
New video tonight of a woman accused of robbing a 98-year-old. Albuquerque police say this is the suspect using stolen credit cards she took from the elderly victim. Then says she began buying things all over the city, but so far they have not been able to track her down. If you can help, call 242-COPS.
Today, a former police officer pleaded no contest to beating a man. Investigators say Greer was responding to a call last year about a man passed out at a motel. At some point, Greer allegedly got angry and punched the victim over and over. Now, Greer will be on unsupervised probation for a year and has to complete 40 hours of community service. The victim, Adrian Martel, is happy with the plea deal.
And as an officer of the law, he shouldn't be acting the way he did that day.
And it's not over. Next month, a judge will decide whether Greer has to pay for any of the victim's medical costs.
Happening now, the search for an inmate who escaped in Las Cruces. Michael Derby was arrested for violent carjackings that stretched into Texas. Police say he was at a hospital yesterday being treated when he somehow ran off. They think a relative picked him up and now they don't know where he is. If you see Derby, call 911.
New at 10, we have learned President Bill Clinton is coming to Albuquerque. He'll be visiting on May 24th and 25th to campaign for his wife Hillary in Albuquerque and Espanola. Unlike his last visit to New Mexico, this time the events will be public, so you can actually see him speak. We'll let you know when we get details on where and when Clinton will appear.
Final preparations are underway to honor a New Mexico hero. Tomorrow, the rest of Officer Daniel Webster's ashes will be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Action 7 News reporter Megan Cruz is covering the ceremony in Washington, D.C.
That's right. We've traveled across the country to cover what is expected to be a beautiful service tomorrow at the National Cemetery in honor of Officer Webster. Webster was killed in October while trying to stop a man he thought had a stolen motorcycle, Devon Lyman. Family and friends already said their goodbyes at a public ceremony. Half of his ashes stayed there at Vista Verde Memorial Park in Rio Rancho. Now the other half will be buried at Arlington tomorrow because Webster is an Army veteran. We're told it will be a full military honors funeral with a firing party and bugler. And at the end, Webster's wife will be presented with an American flag. And we're not the only ones making this trip. We know that Governor Susana Martinez will be in attendance and also Police Chief Gordon Eden. Again, our coverage starts tomorrow morning. Megan Cruz, KOAT, Action 7 News.
We'll also be there as Webster and 2 other fallen New Mexico officers are honored. That is tomorrow.
An update on breaking news from 5 o'clock. The SWAT situation in Albuquerque near Unser and Arnall over. Police were working since 11 a.m. to get a man out of a house after some sort of domestic violence call. They negotiated for hours. Now he's finally in custody, but APD hasn't said who he is or exactly what charges he might face. We do know he had a felony warrant out for his arrest.
Are you missing old family photos? An Albuquerque woman says these pictures blew into her yard about 3 months ago. She lives between Winona and Constitution. The photos show a woman with salt and pepper hair and some with 2 children wearing blue jean overalls, that one there, and the names Wendell and Jane written in blue pen on the bottom.
What a beautiful woman and beautiful family. She's got to be somebody's mother, grandma, and the kids, I mean, what a joy it would be to find them.
We're trying to get as many eyes on these photos as possible. Now, you can share the story with your friends on our KOAT Facebook page. If they belong to you, contact us.
New numbers show 3 out of 10 kids won't graduate this month in New Mexico. It's actually the worst grad rate in the country. Going city by city, Albuquerque is seeing just 62% of students cross the stage. Rio Rancho is much higher at 83%. Santa Fe and Roswell in the 60s. So what's the state doing about it? It says it's working on an early warning system to track attendance and discipline to see which kids need the most help. It's also hiring what it calls dropout coaches to work with students and their families.
A groundbreaking in Santa Fe today that will give you more options for health care. Christus St. Vincent Hospital is expanding, adding bigger private rooms that will allow for more equipment and more room for visitors. The $40 million project is expected to be finished by 2018.
Tonight, nursing home nightmares.
You know, it was worse than I'd treated my dog.
Hear the horror stories from people who say their loved ones were hurt and neglected, and how it inspired a massive lawsuit.
A lot of you tell us you're not happy with the justice system. Now, hear from the men who want to turn it around with your vote.
And a story that's already making me hungry. How you could take a trip on the Green Chili Cheeseburger Trail.
Action 7 News live at 10.
One of New Mexico's largest nursing home companies is front and center in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. It details claims of neglect and patient mistreatment, which some families believe resulted in death.
In a Target 7 investigation, family members who say their loved ones suffered share their stories with Matt Howerton.
Becky Russell shudders when she goes down this road in Bloomfield, New Mexico.
This is not a place of fond memories.
At the end of it, the nursing home, she says, almost killed her husband.
It's very sad. I darn near lost my lifetime companion at the hands of people who I entrusted his care to.
In 2013, she says her husband, Henry Russell, was admitted to Bloomfield Nursing Home, a facility operated by Preferred Care, after having a major stroke, a decision Becky came to regret.
He would be calling out for help, and it wouldn't come. A nightmare, a living nightmare.
Russell says she found Henry in bad shape several times, but a breaking point came in 2014.
I went over to the nursing home and found him laying in urine, and the pool of urine had been there long enough that it was actually starting to dry. There was a brown ring around the bottom of the sheet.
Russell sent her husband to the hospital. He had an infection on his foot, was deathly anemic, and had internal bleeding.
He had been so degraded, so taken down to that level that it was worse than I'd treated my dog.
Russell's story can be found in a lawsuit filed by the Attorney General's office against Preferred Care, Inc., but hers isn't the only one.
It scared me to know that if I wasn't there, what would happen.
According to the lawsuit, Darlene Goodman's mother, Minnie Rivera, was admitted to Santa Fe Care Center in 2013 for rehab, another Preferred Care facility. The documents show she was classified as a high risk for falls, yet Goodman says her mother routinely wouldn't get the help she needed.
I felt like I had to constantly remind them of their duties.
Goodman says her mother was only supposed to stay a month, but she didn't make it. The lawsuit describes what happened.
When they called me, they told me that they had found my mom on the floor. Her right side of the face was really bruised. Her eye socket was sunken in. Her jaw was broken. After that fall, she died. I mean, she died. That was a fall that led to her death. I thought she was coming home. I really did.
Goodman says her mother died because no one was there to help her out of bed. Attorney General Hector Balderas launched an investigation into several Preferred Care facilities throughout the state. The AG found that staffing levels were atrocious.
I questioned as a nurse how good care, how quality care could be given.
The Attorney General introduced us to this woman who chose to not have her face shown. Documents show she used to be the charge nurse at Casa Real Nursing Home in Santa Fe when it was owned by Cathedral Rock, another defendant in the suit. It's now owned by Preferred Care. She says she was only given one nurse's aide for her 22 patients. Some didn't get bathed, changed, or toileted as a result.
No one deserves to be treated in a demeaning way, to have their dignity taken away. No one deserves that.
Now the AG is trying to recoup the Medicaid and Medicare dollars. They say both Cathedral Rock and Preferred Care billed our state over the past few years. That amount is well over $150 million. As for these women,
I hope that justice will be done for those people who had to go through this.
I cannot stress on how I would not like it to happen to anyone else.
They just want someone held accountable. When we asked Preferred Care about these allegations, they sent us a statement saying Preferred Care Partners stands by the care its facilities provide to New Mexico's frail elderly and the dedication and commitment of compassionate staff who consider long-term care an honorable profession. When we asked attorneys for Cathedral Rock about its staffing problems, it told us Casa Real consistently met and exceeded these state staffing standards and received outstanding marks on State Department of Health surveys. Back to you.
If you're looking for a nursing home for a loved one, look at these tips on your KOAT app. There are 10 things you need to watch for before making a decision, from the food to the staff.
Just a couple of hours ago, two of the people who want to become your next district attorney talked about how they would reform the system. Democratic candidates Raul Torres and Ed Perea agree the Bernalillo County DA's office should be swifter and more effective. Torres said he would fix it in part by assigning the same prosecutor to repeat offenders.
You wouldn't expect that in the healthcare system, that every time you came into the healthcare system, you'd see a different doctor every time you go. We need to be more detailed and more focused in the criminal justice system.
Perea had his own unique plan to organize trial teams who will focus on specific judges or specific types of crimes.
Prosecutors are in too many courtrooms at the same time, and sometimes it delays the case or we lose the case for a variety of reasons. This reorganization and this creation of trial teams will prevent that from happening.
Also running on the Republican side, Simon Kubiak. You can vote in the primary June 7th.
This story will make you hungry. I know it does for me. May is National Hamburger Month, and you could celebrate the New Mexican way by taking a trip on the Green Chili Cheeseburger Trail. The tourism department put together a guide of restaurants with the best green chili cheeseburgers in our state, from Santa Fe to Socorro. It even includes some places I go to quite a bit, like 5-Star Burgers and Blake's. And this isn't just something locals enjoy. It was also voted the best food trail in America by USA Today. They got that right. Check it out. Open the KOAT app and look under As Seen on 7.
Now, live Super Doppler 7 weather.
Okay, we have plenty of spring warmth.